Jesus, mister.
What's up, guys? Coach Elliott here with Phone Home Fitness, and what I have for you today is stretching. Stretch, stretch, stretch. What do I mean by stretching? Well, a lot of different ways to think of stretching, and for me, what I like to do when I stretch is I like to breathe into my muscles. All right, so I like to create a elongation of the muscle, and I like to breathe into those muscles that I'm going to be using that day. So whether it be any athletic sport such as football, baseball, basketball, soccer, wrestling, MMA, doesn't matter, hockey, doesn't matter. If I'm going to be on my feet and moving my legs and creating some explosive energy out of my lower body, especially my lower body, I like to get a quick stretch and breath into the muscles that I'm going to be using. So first thing we'll go off and start on, what I like to do is I like to start on the lower leg. So how I like to stretch the lower leg is and the feet. The feet are very important, obviously. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. So first thing I like to do is stretch my tibialis and ankles, the frontal part of my lower leg and the ankle joint in the front. Okay, good stretch and breath. Yep. Good stretch on that tibialis and the ankle. It helps prevent injuries. Next thing, I'm going to go ahead and roll out my knees a little bit. Since I'm down here, I like to go ahead and get two birds stoned at once. Go ahead and roll these out. Feel it all in here, the lower leg. IT bands of the lower leg kind of gets a little dicey sometimes. See, this here knee ability that I basically can put my hamstrings onto my calves. I know not everyone can do this, but this is the goal for me, is to create this range of motion in my knees to help bulletproof and to create the range of motion. That way when I'm in this position, say I fall down or I slide, if I'm in baseball and I slide, or if I'm wrestling and I'm in this position, my body is used to being in this position to where I can do a number of different movements to get out. All right, so the next thing is I'm gonna go to my toes. I'm gonna get my toes active here, and I roll from my knees to my heels. Knees to heels. Make sure I get a couple of deep breaths in there. Knees to heels. And I can feel, as I go to my knees, I can feel my toes, my big toes engaging and stretching the bottoms of my feet. All right. Another thing that kind of works on is the Achilles. So I'll go ahead and get my calf stretch here, back of the calf. Back part of the calf here. Notice that I don't stay 30 seconds. I get about 2 nice breaths into those stretches. When I feel the muscle stretching, I go ahead and get a couple of breaths in there. I'm not just stretching the muscle, I'm stretching the ligaments, the soft tissue, the parts that hold my joints together. I like to get a good stretch on that. All right, so the next thing, I'm gonna go ahead and stay on my legs here. We're going into this hamstring. It's not just the hamstring, it's also the back of the knee. The back of the knee. Some people call this half monkey or half moon or whatever. Notice how as I take a breath, and when I breathe out, I get a little bit lower. So from there, I'll switch, do the other leg. My knee doesn't have to stay completely straight, but I do want to get a good stretch in the hamstring and the back of the knee, top of the calf. All right, go ahead and switch back. Now I'm gonna work my piriformis stretch. The way I like to do this is the side of the hip here and the glute. I like to set my off leg back a little. I like to set my back leg off, set it back a little. I also like to get my ankle centered with my belly button. And I like to keep my eyes up, chest up. And I really want to try to get this knee down. Do it from the front. This other leg. And it's all about what you're comfortable with. So start out, just be comfortable. And as you take those breaths, you should be able to feel your muscles kind of loosening up. And that's exactly what we want. We don't want to spend too much time in one position. Just a nice, good stretch and move on. All right, so the next one, I'm gonna go back to active toes and I'm gonna kickstand. One leg. Kind of breathe into it. So this one's kind of more focused on the groin. Notice as I stretch, I'll kind of lean forward onto my hands and I push the knee out on the opposite side. All right, let's switch. It's very important to play with these positions and find the positions where you're comfortable in and you know you're stretching the muscle and get a good stretch into the muscle and breath. Nice, good. Now that I've got a good majority of the lower leg and quad and hamstrings stretched out and the glutes, what I'm going to go to now in the groin, I got some of the groin worked out, I'm going to go ahead and go to the quads. So depending on what level of fitness you're in, this quad stretch can be a little different for anybody. So if I'm gonna do a track, if I'm gonna stretch for running or track, I may get into this position here, just go down to my elbow on the other side, and this leg is gonna stay with the toes down. If you're a little bit more advanced, you may go ahead and lay down this hurdler stretch. That's good. I can come down to my elbow. A little quickie there. Elbow. Notice you can kind of look behind yourself to give a stretch here in the quad. That's what we want. We want to target the quad here. If you want to progress, down shoulders to the mat. Notice how I'm engaging my breath on every position. Anytime I get into a position that I want to stretch, I go ahead and do that. All right, got a lot of those nice and figured out. If I was, say, stretching for Jiu Jitsu, I might do some of these S-mount stretches where I would alternate. Basically, I try to feel inside the legs what parts are still having some soft tissue tension or some buildup of fascia. So like in the sides of my knees here, I could feel like a little bit of tension. So that's why I'll go put another little bit into this piriformis stretch. May rotate a little bit. All right, nice. Now that I got that, I'm wanting to kind of get a little bit of a stretch into my glutes and into my lower back. So the way I like to do that is I like to grab the opposite side. Now still stretching out the lower leg here inside the calf and the opposite side. And then I'll twist and stretch there to get the lower back. And as I put a little bit of press against, so as I pull back, it starts to put tension on my lower back, which I want to stretch out. All right, got a good stretch there. The next thing I want to do is I want to add a little bit of dynamic stretch or dynamic warm up to my knees or lower legs. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bounce on the calves, toes, and my calves are going to bounce on my hamstrings basically. But I really want to get my knees active. My job here is to engage the knees, get the blood into my knees, my lower legs, and to have these legs be able to go into as far of a range of motion as I can, but be able to have a little bit of strength in that range of motion. That's my goal, to help prevent from injuries and to develop the mechanism of the leg that I kind of like to think of it as a spring. Your leg is loading up like a spring would. If you're going to go into this pistol squat, this is also a crouch position. So this is very, very commonly used in a functional training or any kind of sport or athletics, where you go down a track stance. You may start here in a wrestling match. You may start here as a wide receiver. You may bounce into these positions if you're playing basketball. A lot of times you'll end up in this athletic position. I like to call it, I also call it frog position when I'm working with kids. They can see this frog position in their mind, and it helps them to picture the way the frog's legs bounce. And I think of that when I'm trying to warm up my legs to do any kind of athletic movement or develop the muscles in my legs to become more efficient for any type of training. So that's a good way that I like to warm up and stretch my legs, my lower legs and quads. The next thing I'll do is this glute stretch here. It's called, I don't know what it's called, but it's kind of like Piriformis Stretch. But you gotta work on your balance a little bit. All right, just a couple of breaths on each leg. Good. All right, so I just want to engage them. I don't want to spend too much time on them. I just want to get a couple of breaths into all these different types of stretches. Another good way to stretch the lower back, if you're a wrestler or a Jiu Jitsu person and you have tight lower back all the time, here's a good one. I like to do this one as a warm up. It helps to get my lower back not only stretching, but as I pull back, I'm contracting the lower back and rolling into this shallow concave position, the pronated position where my back is rounded. And this is really good for my lower back strength. So on days where I'm particularly sore, if I'm feeling something that's just a little bit out of whack, I take my foam roller. A lot of people say, oh, you're not gonna use a foam roller if you X, Y, Z. Well, I have it and I can use it, and I'm not in a hurry because my training matters, my health matters. So I'll go ahead and pull out the foam roller just real quick to give you a couple of principles and tips. Because I like to use the foam roller while stretching, because you feel the tightness, you feel the tension in the body. Why not take the roller out and address some of that tension? So the first place I'm gonna do it is my thoracic. So as you can see here, I'm kind of just rolling onto it. I like to do a variety of different arm positions. So I may start off with this cross position. I can feel a couple of crunches there. I can feel the soft tissue loosening up real good. The specific position of what I'm trying to roll out right now would be the left side of my thoracic. So the upper back is the left side of my upper back, my thoracic. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna focus with my left hand coming across. And I may just change the arm positions there. And I can feel clicking and popping all the way down my arms. I do a lot of training with my arms and into these in range of motions where you'll end up a lot of times in MMA. So I like to go ahead and address the tension. A lot of times I'll build up a lot of soft tissue damage inside the shoulder blades, and this really helps get inside the shoulder blades. There's other things you can use like a lacrosse ball and to pinpoint the areas that you want to target to crush up that soft tissue damage. And a lot of times what I like to do when I'm doing the foam roller is if I'm comfortable with this and I've got a strong back and I use my back for a lot of different types of movements in MMA or football or whatever. If I have a strong lower back, I like to go ahead and get a little bit of rub on it. I like to put 4 or 5 little crunches, and I go to the next one. And what I mean by the next one is I'll just go up in increments on my back and do 4 or 5 rolls here, 4 or 5 rolls there, 4 or 5 rolls here, while taking deep breaths. And like I said, arm position matters. If you put it over your head, different muscles will be exposed to the roller, where you can really fine tune and find the points that you need to address the soft tissue damage that happens in normal training and recovery. All right, so the next thing I'll go to is I feel this little armpit real tight from boxing. Just roll out the lat. Ooh, nice, very nice. Feel that? I feel it kind of break loose. Give me the type of relief that I'm looking for. I'll do another one. A lot of times, just holding that arm across, hitting it a few times, is all you need. Now I can shake my arms out, and you don't want to go intensely with the shaking of the arms. You just want to, now I can hear the snap, crackling, and popping of all the fascia that's cracking up and breaking up in my upper thoracic. That's if you do a lot of exercise, you'll feel that snap, crackle, pop kind of going off in your ears. It signifies the soft tissue damage and fascia breaking up while you're using the foam roller. As I'm clicking and popping here, I feel real good and it's starting to get pretty loose. So we want to address the neck. If you need help with your neck, I don't suggest using a foam roller unless you talk to a doctor or a therapist about that. So I'm not going to do that. I gotta say one thing I like to do with the foam roller, I usually focus on my hips, because I feel like the hips get very tight from doing a lot of kicks and a lot of pronation from crunches. We do a lot of crunches in America because we think that's gonna give us very nice washboard abs, but it's far from the truth. And really what does that is big supination, inhalation, and then pronation with very little but some resistance and an exhalation. And yeah, so we'll get into that. All right, so what I like to do, if I want my hip joint to get rolled out, I'll go ahead and put a little bit on this this hip here, this muscle. I'm not sure what the muscle's called, but it's a very strong muscle, that hip flexor. So I'll go ahead and roll out my hip flexor. Like I said, it doesn't need much. Just a little bit of attention. Once a day goes a long way. Just a couple of, good. Just a little bit of tension once a day goes a long way. All right, got that left side done. We'll go to the right side. I believe that everyone should roll out their lower leg and hips and lower back, and at least 3 or 4 times a week. It doesn't take long. I'm gonna go ahead and hit the IT bands here. Very important, I think, the IT band is the side of the leg. You feel that tension real prominent there. And then I'm gonna roll down to where the hamstring meets the glute. And I'm just gonna roll on my glutes a little bit. No biggie. And then I can just feel where it needs to go from there. This is part of what I call phoning home. And what it means to phone home is to listen to your body. When your body cracks, when your body aches, when your body's tight, it's telling you that you need to address it, or that it's a part of your life, okay? It's part of your recovery. Your body's your home. It's the only home you truly have. You can't take any of this stuff with you when you leave. So I believe that making a connection with your home is one of the most important things we can do as humans. And that goes from everything to the way food makes us feel, the way music makes us feel, the way TV makes us feel, the way anything makes you feel. Your body gives you signals, so listen to them. Phone home. All right. So anyway, that's enough of that. Nobody likes the foam roll. Nobody likes to stretch. But we're done with that. I don't know how many minutes in, but we're done. Okay. So now what we can do is we can start our warm up. Everyone's like, dude, you ever see a lion warm up before it takes down a gazelle, dude? Well, yeah, actually, if you look, lions sleep all day. All they do is stretch and breathe. And also, you're not a lion. You're a human being who's not 500 pounds or whatever in a killing machine. So don't be a lion, because you're not one, but you're also not built like one. But if you were, yeah, pay attention. Those guys kind of do a little stretching and a little yawning, some breathing, some listening to their heart. So don't ever say lions don't stretch, because they kind of do when they yawn. That's just my opinion. All right, we're gonna get into the warm up here. And I think what I want to do today is Basu ball. I love the Basu ball. My favorite thing to warm up on. What does it do? It warms up our core. It gets our core nice and warmed up, because if you got a bunch of blood in your stomach and all your vital organs, your body might work better. It can pump blood to the other parts of your body more efficiently. Okay, I know the heart does that, but the way I use the Basu ball is I like to stretch and breathe and warm up with some contractions, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys an idea of how to warm up my lower body and my upper body. Upper body, lower body, and core, all with the Basu ball. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab a Swiss ball, and I'll be right back.